Hello and welcome to what is episode 10, double digits. So for Sensei'S exclusively on the akhi&saltfish digital network. Today we're discussing UFC 276. Saturday the 2nd of July. It's International Fight Week. The T-Mobile Arena. Of course, being the UFC, it is on about 3 to 4 a.m. UK time, but that's fine. We're going to watch it. We're going to preview it right now, and we're going to review it Sunday afternoon. We're also going to recap a couple other things going on in the fight world right now, namely Derek Chisora, namely Canelo, Triple G, and a few others as well. Do me a favour, if you are listening to this right now, head over to Cool, Fire, Done, Wicked if you enjoy music, such as this intro tune, and follow the page. It is the other podcast available on the akhi&saltfish digital network. You've heard Before Our Friends Die. You're listening to Sofa Sensei's, and you will hear Cool, Fire, Done, Wicked very, very soon. So make sure you head over there. We've just posted something today. It recaps the R&B verses that took place last week. Our top 10 moments from that event. Chaotic to say the least, but yeah, follow us, check it out, and we'll be with you very, very soon. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this episode. So a couple housekeeping rules here. As always, thanks to Troy for producing the intro track to Sofa Sensei's there. And you may have noticed it is only my voice today, so unfortunately Rochelle was unable to make it, but we do always send him our Sofa Sensei love. And make sure you head over to his page and just let him know that you're missing him and you can't wait to see him back on the akhi&saltfish digital network, which will be very, very soon. We've been doing some prepping over the last couple of weeks for a special episode of Sofa Sensei's, and all will be revealed shortly. So, UFC 276. I'm looking at the card right now. The first fight in the early prelims is two fighters I really don't recognise at all. Usually when I go through these cards, I at least recognise someone, even if I haven't seen their fights. I don't recognise Clark or Stoliarenko. It's a female fight, 135 pounds. What's that, bantamweight? I don't know who they are, so I can't comment on that one. In terms of predictions, I would be lying. Clark's got the dog in her. I mean, that sounds a bit disrespectful, but I mean, got the dog in her, and she looks like she's up for a fight, so I'm going to vote for Clark. But I'm not even invested in that prediction, so we'll move on quickly. Jessica I versus Macie Barber. I remember Macie Barber when she first started, she wanted to become the youngest ever UFC champ, and I think she's missed out on that one. That's still a record that belongs to John Jones. So we will, cast that aside. So looking at Macie Barber and Jessica I's recent runs, Jessica I is almost like the veteran in this scenario, and Macie Barber, still young, is the up and comer. So conventional wisdom would go towards Macie Barber, and I'm probably going to do the same thing. I don't really follow either of their careers that closely. If you look at people like, for instance, Jessica I, the reason I know her is because she got head kicked into oblivion by Valentina Shevchenko. So, I don't know much else about her other than that. So again, I'm going to predict Macie Barber, and I'm going to say Macie Barber on points. The featured early prelim though is Uriah Hall versus Andre Muniz, and I do know both these fighters, so I can talk about this. Look, Uriah Hall has had a career that has been fairly disappointing, I would say. Look, at the end of the day, he's in the UFC, so maybe my standards are a little bit too high to be saying it's disappointing, right? But he hasn't lived up to the hype, is what I'm trying to say, I suppose. It took Tough by storm. That head kick knockout is something. Spinning back kick knockout is something we all still remember to this day. One of the most iconic knockouts in the UFC's history was done by Uriah Hall. He's got a Jamaican heritage, so I'm always going to root for him and vote for him. But Andre Muniz is on the way up. He's vicious. He's violent. Uriah Hall, I think, he's 37. So he's 100% on his way out, whether it be this fight or last fight. I think Uriah Hall's last fight was, I want to say it was the Chris Weidman fight. I'm pretty sure it was, right? Let's see. Where Chris Weidman snapped his leg. Yep. Oh, no. Since then, he's fought... Since then, Yeah, he fought Sean Strickland and got beat by Sean Strickland. So, it is what it is. What can I say? Yeah, I'm going for Andre Muniz. At the end of the day, this isn't like, the reason we're all watching this card, so I'll move on pretty quickly. But I wish Uriah all the best, obviously, but he just seems to lack that ability to show up when it matters. So, yeah, who knows? Opening the prelims, you've got Brad Tavares versus Judicus Du Plessis. I don't know how you say that. I hope that's right. Sorry if it's wrong. I don't know Judicus, so I won't predict that one really. You've got Brad Tavares. Looking at their ages, Brad is the older guy. Didicus has the longer reach. Their records are slightly similar. I suppose Brad Tavares has 5 more losses. Again, I can't predict that one. The only name I know on that within that fight is Brad, so I'll go for Brad. Who knows? Who cares? Ian Gary. This is a fight I'm actually looking forward to. Ian Gary versus Gabe Green. Gabe is I think he's a wrestler. I'm pretty sure he's a wrestler. Let me check. Let's see. I don't know, I can't tell. I don't know who Gabe is. I'm pretty sure he's a wrestler. I read he was a wrestler. I'm going to go with that. Ian Gary, 24 years old. He wants to be the new Conor McGregor. He wants to be that guy. He is from Ireland. He has married Layla and Elise. And if you don't know who that is, check her out on Instagram. She's a sports journalist. So his profile is really, really high because of his connections and that sort of thing. Conor McGregor rates him. He rubs people up the wrong way. If you search Ian Gary's name on Twitter, people don't really tend to like him. He's a bit cringe. He's a sort of self-professed great talker, and they never really go down well. You almost want to be a publicly acclaimed great talker, So I don't know. All the best to Ian Gary. He's 9-0. He's undefeated. This is his way up. So all the best to him. Ian Gary, stoppage round 3 is my prediction. Jim Miller versus Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone has had a horrible run recently. Obviously, he had that fight with Joe Lozon, the first original fight with Joe Lozon, cancelled on the day because Donald got ill. Then we had the rebooking of that fight last week, I think it was, or the week before, and Joe Lozon then fell ill with his knee. So that fight got cancelled twice. Dana said, fuck making this the new Khabib and what's his name, Tony Ferguson. Let's just move both fighters on and get them where they need to be. He's now booked Donald Cerrone to fight Jim Miller. Donald Cerrone has previously beaten Jim Miller way back in their careers. I think it was a head kick knockout. They're both old. They have over 100 fights between them. So, look, this is a sort of loser leaves home match. Loser leaves style match for both of them. Donald Cerrone hasn't won any of his last 6 fights. I would like to see Donald hang it up, but that is my personal preference. Donald is on about 48 fights, I think. This will be his 49th. So he's always said he wants to get to 50. So, okay, maybe one more. And maybe Nick Diaz, someone like that. Wouldn't mind seeing that fight regardless of the outcome of this one. But I would like to see both Jim Miller and Donald, get fairly close to hanging it up sometime soon. Closing out the prelims, the main event of the prelims is Brad Riddle versus Jalen Turner. So Jalen Turner is someone I know because he trains with Bisping. He's absolutely huge for the weight class. He's 27 years old, so he's fairly young. He's 6'2" versus Brad's 5'6". This is the lightweight category as well, so it's a killer division really. The top 20 in this division are just pure killers. So yeah, good luck to both guys. Jalen comes in with a 77-inch reach. Brad Riddle is, I believe, from like New Zealand, Australia. Let me just double check. Where's he from? He's from New Zealand. He's in that city kickboxing camp anyway, and I think right now they're on a run. So I'm going to go with Brad Riddle. 10-2 as well versus 12-5. So I'm going to go with Brad Riddle for the win via stoppage in round 2. Why not? Pick it out for now. Opening up the main card, this is where I start talking about what I know. Come on, we start moving now. We move. Sugar Sean OMalley versus Pedro Munhoz. Okay, let me give you some background on both these guys. Pedro Munhoz is a fighter that came onto my radar in about 2019, maybe 18. I can't remember what year it was. But basically, he chinned Cody Garbrandt. He was having Cody Garbrandt, bear in mind, he's he just lost back-to-back to TJ Dillashaw, okay? And TJ, to be fair to him, is a great fighter. So you lose back-to-back to TJ Dillashaw. The theme coming out of those two losses for Cody Garbrandt is he's hot-headed. He just needs to calm his head down. And he's still got the power. He's still got the skill. He can still be a great within the division. Okay. He goes into Pedro Munhoz's fight. Pedro has never been stopped, by the way. Even up until today, he's never been stopped. But he's a tough fighter. You know, not necessarily the most skilled fighter, but certainly a tough one. You can't deny him that. Those two have a fight. Cody catches Pedro. Looks like Pedro might go. Cody goes all in. Head goes. Then Pedro catches him. And they just swing hook for hook for hook for hook. And if there's one thing we've learned about Cody Garbrandt since then and reiterated it during that moment was that Cody and his chin are perhaps, a weak point for him. And by Cody, I mean Cody's temperament. So his temperament and his chin are perhaps weak points for Cody Garbrandt. And it proved to be the case on that night when he got knocked out by Pedro Munhoz, meaning his third knockout loss in a row. It was a sad day. So that's when Pedro came onto my radar. More recently, he's fought Dominic Cruz. He scared a lot of Dominic Cruz fans. I think he dropped him in I want to say the first. I could easily be wrong there, though. It might be the second. Don't know. Dropped him, though. And we all thought, oh, shit, like Dominic's been hurt and this could be the end of the fight for Dominic. But he came back and he lost on points to Dominic. So, Dominic's still that guy. Pedro is still a high-level competitor. And to see Sean OMalley finally up his levels will be very, very interesting. A few concerns with Sean OMalley are obviously there is that loss to Chito Vera. There's also fights that he's won where he's been damaged within them, particularly his lower body, his legs. He seems to have quite a fragile body. At the age of 27, you'd think he would be tougher than he is. This is not a disparaging comment, by the way. He's a great fighter. He's sharp. He's technical. He's accurate. And he's aggressive. He always goes to the finish. But if his body can't withstand the training he does or the fighting style he has, his career will only be so long. So wish him the best. I think Sean OMalley does get it done, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a points victory because, like I say, Pedro's never been stopped. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Sean gets hurt in the fight and potentially loses. I wouldn't be surprised. Next up is Robbie Lawler versus Bryan Barberena. Bryan is a tough guy, 17-8. He's had his fair share of losses, had his fair share of wins, but he's nowhere near as experienced as the man himself, Robbie Lawler. Obviously, we know ruthless Robbie Lawler as a man who's a legend, so let's just give him his applause. Former UFC welterweight champion of the world. Incredibly ruthless is, ruthless by name, ruthless by nature. He's a violent individual. Seems to have sort of lost a bit of his edge recently. He's on a bit of a skid, I believe, or if he's not on a skid, he's just not on winning ways recently anyway. He's 40 years old as well. Do you know what I mean? There's only so long you can, particularly factoring in the wars that Robbie Lawler has had, there's only so long you can continue to be at this level and even be competitive. I'd like to see Robbie hang it up personally. He's been in the UFC over 20 years. He first fought in the UFC in May 2002. It is time for him to sort of call it a day. I do think youth is going to have the edge here. And I do think, sadly, we're going to see a Robbie Lawler loss at the hands of Bryan Barberena. So let's just... But I hope I'm proven wrong. I think Robbie gets stopped potentially second round, if not the first. Next up, we have, I would say, one of the most scary fights on the card. So let's just... We've got Sean Strickland, who is a. If I don't know if you've seen the UFC press conference, but he certainly brought a different energy to it. Good or bad, I'll let you be the judge on that one. But he certainly brought a different vibe to it, and it was his first press conference and a memorable one, shall we say? Alex Pereira is a guy who's beaten Israel Adesanya twice. Yeah, you heard me right. He beat Israel Adesanya twice. Sorry, you might hear my water bottle in the background there. First time on points, I believe, and second time via knockout. Izzy will say, "Yeah, I was winning the fight up until then." Okay, cool. You may well have been, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when you are face or back down on the campus, looking up at the lights, does it? So The hype is basically Sean Strickland's a guy who hasn't lost a fight in the last, I want to say, 6 years or 6 fights, one of the two, I can't really remember. And then they're putting him in against Alex Pereira in the hopes that Alex Pereira beats him, and therefore it puts Alex in line for a middleweight title fight against Israel Adesanya, who he is already 2-0 against. So it sets up the narrative really, really nicely on the main card of Izzy's fight. So, how do I think this fight pans out? I think Alex Pereira gets it done. Sean Strickland, from what I've seen of him, he gets hit a little bit, or quite a lot, to be honest with you. He isn't as aggressive a fighter as he is aggressive a talker. So that can be a little bit disappointing as a fan, but all the same, he's obviously got an effective style if he hasn't lost in so long. He's got a great jab, but a great MMA jab versus a kickboxing striker is just a completely different ball game. That being said, I mentioned MMA versus kickboxing. Alex Pereira is a kickboxer and he's beaten Izzy in kickboxing. Sean Strickland is fairly decent on the ground according to some of his former training partners and current training partners. So if he does get Alex Pereira down, maybe that is Pereira's Achilles heel, and therefore it could lead to a Sean Strickland win. What I would say, though, obviously, is Alex Pereira is Brazilian, so you'd think he'd have some grounding within the BJJ area. But aside from that as well, he trains with Glover Teixeira, so again, he would have some level of grounding on the ground. So for me, all roads lead to Alex Pereira, and by stoppage. If I'm being a little bit sadistic about it, I would almost enjoy seeing Sean Strickland get a little bit of violence inflicted upon him. I think he's one of those fighters that creates division. But equally, I would like the narrative of Alex Pereira losing as well, because then it sort of makes Izzy safe as a champion. And I think Izzy as a champion is a really great thing for both the middleweight division, but also for Izzy himself. I was thinking about this the other day. I can't really see Izzy as anything other than a champion. I think if he becomes a contender, it sort of just doesn't look or feel right for the division. So whatever that means, whatever that implication that has on the division, I'm going Alex Pereira for the win, though. We'll see. Next up is the people's main event. You've got Alex, the great Volkanovsky, versus Max Blessed Holloway. Arguably the two best featherweights of all time fighting each other. So let's just... For the people's main event, I think this is a very, 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 very obviously competitive fight. We have seen it twice before, and both times Alex has come out the victor. So if Alex does win this third time, then, at the end of the day, it is curtains for Max Holloway's hopes of fighting Alexander Volkanovsky ever again, because at the end of the day, you've lost 3 times now, mate. Give it up. Stop being a stalker. But equally, if Max Holloway wins, it opens a whole nother can of worms. What do? You put it on the 4th time? I think at some point, you're going to encounter a situation, because the first 2 fights were so close, where Max could win, and probably will win. Will it be this time? I don't know. All this time the fight was announced, I was going for Volkanovsky, and probably I'll still lean that way if I'm honest. Volkanovsky hasn't lost in the UFC. He's on an 11-fight win or tear. And, obviously Max Holloway, we've seen his losses, but we've seen how great he can be as well. That Calvin Kattar performance is still an iconic one. So, shout out to Max for that one. Look, I've seen Max in the aftermath of losing to Volkanovsky for the second time. He's obviously beaten, what's his name? Calvin Kattar, like I mentioned earlier. And he's beaten Yair Rodriguez. And that was a amazing fight. Both of them amazing fights. Stayed up, watched both of them. Incredible. He, outlanded himself in the Calvin Kattar fight. 700 strikes plus. Landed. It's mad. He absolutely big brothered Yair Rodriguez, and he showed himself to be a phenomenal, not only striker in MMA, but also a well-rounded fighter and a fighter with a high level of IQ. So shout out to Max Holloway. I think he really is great. Alexander Volkanovsky, since the second Max Holloway fight, has fought Brian Ortega in that, potential fight of the year. and then he obviously obliterated Korean Zombie. I think Max has probably had I don't know, I was going to say tougher opposition, but really, it's probably been even in terms of opposition levels. I see Alex getting it done. He looked too good in his last outing. Max looked a little bit hit well in his last outing. Yeah, I see Alexander getting it done. We'll see. The main event of UFC 276. I can't say this one has set me on fire, The other fights in the card I am, looking forward to a lot. I'm actually quite liking this whole main card, to be honest with you. But the main event isn't really of interest to me. You've got Jared Cannonier, who is, I want to say, 38. Yeah, that's right, he's 38. He's coming all the way down from heavyweight. Then he fought a light heavyweight. Now he's a middleweight. He's ripped. He looks incredibly strong. He is powerful. He is durable, but he isn't as slick or as good as Izzy. And I think it comes down to that. Simple as that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. And maybe this is the guy to beat Izzy, but I just don't see it. Jared Cannonier, he did beat Anderson Silva by leg kicks. He did, stop him with leg kicks. He obviously beat Kelvin Gastelum as well, and he recently beat blonde Derek Brunson. So he's on a good run. He had a close fight where he lost to Robert Whittaker. Or did he beat Robert Whittaker? I think he lost to him. Yeah, he lost to Robert Whittaker. But, put up a good performance. Israel's Israel, though, isn't he? He's in his own league. He's doing his own thing. And he's beat most of the guys that I've mentioned in Jared Cannonier's synopsis. So, at the end of the day, I do think Israel gets it done. I don't think it's going to be as exciting as we think it could be. I think Israel's going to beat him on points over a 5-round decision. So, that is my predictions for UFC 276. But let's not stop it there because, there's a lot of news in the fight world as well that we need to pick up on. So let's do a quick Google of some boxing news and talk about some of those things. So, one of the big fights that was announced for the UK was Chris Billam-Smith versus Isaac Chamberlain in Bournemouth. So Chris Billam-Smith finally got his Bournemouth wish. He's going to be fighting in the BIC, the Bournemouth International Centre. That is his hometown. Hoping to perhaps get some tickets for that. So, keep an eye out. It will be really, really good to see the crowds forming for Chris in his hometown. So, fantastic fight for him. I think it's a fight he probably wins. I haven't really heard much from Isaac Chamberlain since that defeat to Lawrence Okoli. Maybe that's my own ignorance, or maybe that's the nature of Isaac's career since then. So, all the best to him. I hope he's okay. Because this fight can be this fight world can be a lonely world, and I hope he's all right. Being no longer part of the mainstream within it. Although I suppose you could say this is a big fight and he's back in the mix. Who knows? Good luck to him. Good luck to both of them. Also, what has happened recently? Josh Taylor has recently vacated his WBC super lightweight title. You might remember he was also stripped of, what belt was it? Was it the WBA? I think he was stripped to the WBA recently as well, meaning there's only 2 more belts that he's got left, I think, and and it opens up the door for the Jack Catterall rematch. So basically, what's happened is he's got rid of the belts that had mandatories attached, and now he's got his own belt and he's got no mandatory obligations, meaning that the Jack Catterall fight can go ahead. It's the rematch a lot of people have been asking for. Josh, in my opinion, lost that fight, fairly clearly. But it does mean as well that he gets the opportunity to set the record straight and put a full stop in that chapter of his career. So good luck to Josh Taylor with his endeavours there. And also good luck to Jack Catterall as well, because, if you feel like you've been done a disservice, I hope you get the justice you desire, man. It's important. One thing. The first guest we ever had on Sofa Sensei's, Nico Michael, has announced his professional career. He just turned over to the pro games, and make sure you check out his Instagram at Nico Michael to find out some more details about who he's signed to, what his next move is, and what his dreams are for his career. It's a fantastic move for him. We really are happy for him. So well done, Nico. And we look forward to bringing you back on to hopefully announce your first professional fight exclusively on the Sofa Sensei's podcast. Who knows? You put it out there, you might get it. Good luck to him. And all the best. Other fights going on in the boxing world, you've got Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. That fight looks like it's going to be off now. Tommy Fury's having some problems getting into the US for the press conference and is likely going to have the similar problems getting in the US for the fight. From Jake Paul's side, apparently Tommy Fury just needs to go to the embassy and get his visa thing sorted out. But, you know, on the surface Sensei'S, you know we've already had the conversations about a certain man in a certain organisation. Check out episode 3 and the letters MTK if you're not sure what we're on about. Good luck to both guys as well. It's a bit of a shame. Tommy Fumbles really is becoming a meme at this point. You've had, you know, the biggest payday of your career, potentially the biggest payday of your life, and you just didn't get your affairs in order beforehand, and now you're scratching around and gone silent. Do you know what I mean? You know, arguably you shouldn't do your negotiations online. I get that, but at this point, Tommy, you're already dragged into the online business. Get in there and explain yourself, unless, of course, you are just a joke. Okay, moving on from Tommy and Jake Paul, let's talk about Logan Paul briefly signing to the WWE. I think, you know, when we were all younger, I know Rochelle, if he was here right now, he would agree with me. That was the dream, to be a wrestler, to be one of those guys. I think as we've gotten older, that dream has sort of dissipated and we no longer want to be a part of that. But let's shout out Logan for doing what he wants to do and achieving his childhood dreams. I feel like Logan is taking this entertainment world by storm, really doing what he wants to do, and you know what, I can't knock that. I really do think that's a great thing. So shout out to him and good luck. Again, wishing a lot of people good luck today. Must be in a good mood. Liam Smith has just signed with Boxer, the Sky Sports outfit, meaning that it lines up pretty well a fight with Chris Eubank Jr. At this point, little bit bored of Chris Eubank Jr.'s career. If he does go ahead and fight Liam Smith, what's the point? Where does that lead him? Do you know what I mean? You've just fought Liam Williams, didn't really do anything with it. Then you called out Kell Brook, calling out Conor Benn, Triple G. Triple G's fighting Canelo, that got announced this week, and we're seeing that fight on September 17th. Canelo looked really angry. I think Triple G gets stopped inside 10 rounds. Although I'd like to see Triple G win, but you know, it is what it is. I don't think he does. We'll talk about that near the time. But yeah, Eubank Jr.'s career is just, bro, what the hell, man? Never really had a marquee fight, and those that he did, like the James DeGale fight, he sort of didn't capitalise on the momentum. The other big fights he's had, Billy Joe Saunders, he lost. George Groves, he lost. And fair enough, you know, it is what it is. Like, but you know, and by the way, Eubank Jr.'s made millions for a fairly mediocre career. So, you know, props to him. He's really won at this game. But point is, it's a bit like you need to be able to, in order to have a legacy that withstands time, you need to be able to challenge yourself. And I don't feel like thus far he challenged himself and succeeded. He's taken these fights with people with, you know, relatively big names, but not huge names. And he's not challenging himself. He's taking fights that he knows he can probably win just by being a tough guy. And actually, I think we want to see a little bit more from Chris. But at this point in his career, he is 30-something, and I don't know if we ever will. So, a bit of a disappointment. He used to be a really, really, you know, fighter, high on my regards, whatever that means. He obviously doesn't care what I think, right? But my point is, he used to be a really, you know, good fighter in my eyes, and he's sort of let his career slip. So, yeah, it's a shame. Obviously, the last thing we're going to talk about, the last two things, you've got, Derek Chisora, a huge fan over here in the Sofa Sensei'S. We love Derek Chisora. And one of the reasons is this. He's got a fight coming up, and hear what he said about his daughter Googling his name.
She Googled Derek.
Let's go, rewind.
My eldest daughter, so at school, she Googled Derek Chisora. And the first thing popped up.
If you think I'm a pussy, I'm a punk.
Was the dad flipping the table. And looked at me, and she was so excited. Wow. At least I did something right there.
How did you feel about her saying that?
How did I feel? I don't care.
Derek Chisora is different, man. Derek Chisora is different. A man dashed the table, yeah, and said, if you think I'm a punk, I'm a pussy, you tell me right. Anyway, and dashed the table. Check out Sofa Sensei'S on Instagram if you're interested in seeing some more clips just like that. But my point is, someone said, how do you feel about your daughter Googling out of school and finding it out? He said, I don't care, I've done something right. he's built different. And I've been following the career of Derek Chisora for many years, but I've been invested in it heavily over the last couple of weeks because, like I say, we've got this very special Sofa Sensei's episode planned, so keep an eye out. But I realised he just doesn't give a shit, and that is his superpower. The man's got like 11 or 12 losses, I think, yeah, and he just keeps going. He's in a big fight next week with Pulev, but he's just still active. He's Derek Chisora, he's War Chisora, he's Del Boy, he reinvents himself, he keeps going, and he's, you know, to be fair, his standard hasn't dropped dramatically. It was just never ever that high, and he's just stayed consistently mid. But he talks a lot and he tries hard, and that's enough because he's endeared the British public. So I'm not even going to bother predicting the fight. I think he loses, but I'm not really bothered. You know, I wish him genuinely, I wish Derek Chisora the best. If you could ignore everything I said about wishing other people the best, I genuinely wish Derek Chisora the best over the next weekend. I don't want to see him fight anymore, but I do enjoy the build-ups to Derek. So I wish, you know, somehow, some way we could get Derek to just do build-up for fights. I wouldn't mind that. But anyway, forget all of that. Let us know, comment, DM us, whatever you want to do. Let us know what you think is going to happen this weekend with UFC 276. Some may say we're armchair experts. Some may say we're couch coaches. I would say we're Sofa Sensei's, and we're on the akhi&saltfish digital network. Like I said at the start of this episode, if you enjoy music, please do check out Cool, Fine, Done, Wicked on Instagram. We have a new episode, and a couple new episodes actually, coming out very, very soon. If you're enjoying podcasts about the fight world, check out Sofa Sensei's. We have plenty of episodes so far. Nico Michael has just turned pro. We got to know him and we learned about his journey on episodes 1 and 2. And Tysell, a Northampton boxer, soon to turn pro, has featured on Sofa Sensei's episode 9, so make sure you check him out as well. Listen, we really enjoy what we're doing over here on the akhi&saltfish digital network. We love Sofa Sensei's, we adore Before Our Friends Die, and we really, really are excited for Cool, Fine, Done, Wicked. So make sure you join along on the journey. And as always, thanks to Troy for producing the intro music for Sofa Sensei's that you're hearing right now. And let us know, we'll be back tomorrow, well, the day after tomorrow actually, with a review of UFC 276. I'm sure it's going to be a cracker. I'm sure we're going to see a few sleeper fights come to life, and I'm sure we're going to see and still in both title fights. So who knows? Take care. Bye bye. Oh, one thing I forgot to say actually is if you want to get in touch, obviously you can DM us akhi&saltfish on Instagram or Twitter, but also you can email akhi&saltfish@gmail.com and we will answer your questions. We've got a few listener questions already. Who do I think I am? We are answering them, and the episode will be out very, very soon. So check it out. Take care and good night.